Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Hi everybody, my name is Gary E.
Hi Gary.
And I'm an alcoholic. My name is Gary Ebbins. It's E-B-B-I-N-S, just in case you want to look me up in the phone book. There is no anonymity at an AA meeting, in case you're unclear about that. But I want to thank Ramona for requesting my presence here. And I want to thank my wife, who has asked me repeatedly throughout the evening if I was nervous, and I said no. And then just now I said, honey, now I'm nervous. And she said, that's okay, honey, don't be nervous. I love you and you look great. And she's got 10 years of sobriety. So it's not how you feel, it's how you look. And the truth of the matter is, I've had a rough day between my ears. And I'm not going to go into details, but when your boss calls from New York and you monitor his call on the answering machine, screaming obscenities to the machine, you know you're in a little bit of trouble up here. This May, I'll be sober 16 years. I got sober May 3rd. Thanks, Dick. I can always count on. That's why I said that, just to hear Dick. I want to thank my friends that have come here tonight to support me, and welcome Renee to Alcoholics Anonymous, and congratulate Tom on 14 years, and let you know that Alcoholics Anonymous has worked pretty good for me throughout these years, and it worked from the day I raised my hand and admitted I was an alcoholic right up to and including today. There have been many times when I have found it necessary to take a drink. I just haven't done it. And I'm still a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous today. And God. So where did this rough day come from? You know, this was not like rough to me today. I kind of, to put things in perspective for myself, when I think things are rough, I always like to go back to the day before I came to Alcoholics Anonymous and kind of match up what I'm going through today and compare it to that, you know, because the day before I got sober was rough. Today, I know what the solution is. I just haven't availed myself of the solution because I can still grab onto the steering wheel of self-will and just steer it right into the wall. I'll tell you, I'll get this out of the way really quick. I owed a couple of amends. I have, made a few mistakes in my sobriety. There's a step that kind of covers that. I owe a couple of amends and to a couple of friends. And one of them, I have fought making these amends. And to cut to the chase, I picked up the phone and made one of them today, and the other one I've had a real difficult time. It's to an old friend, and I owe him an amend. And for some reason or another, I'm really fighting it, and it is really playing havoc with my head, and I have to do it, and I lack the courage to do it, and I'm praying for the courage, and it's consuming me. It really is, and the road does get narrow. I ran through people's lives not caring about anybody, let alone myself, for so many years, and I get to Alcoholics Anonymous, and this simple little amend is causing me a lot of discomfort, So anyway, I will take you back a little bit and let you know where I came from and what happened and what it's like for me now, although I kind of just told you what it's like for me now. Actually, my life is really great and will be better once I get this amend out of the way, I'm sure. I was 39 years old when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm an only child. Neither one of my parents drank. I come from an upper middle class family. I was really born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I was given everything that a child could want, including love. Neither one of my parents drank. My mom had a couple of go-arounds with some tranquilizers of the day, but my parents are good people, and I hated them. I hated them for no reason at all. I mean, it was way beyond just growing up and not liking your parents. I genuinely hated my parents, and I learned how to drink really in high school. I enjoyed drinking. I was always too short and too shy and all of that stuff. I just did not feel like I was a part of anything, and drinking. I used to get together with a bunch of guys after school. I had a lot of trouble in school. My parents put me in a private school. It was a college prep school, and which is another name for a reformatory for rich kids, And everybody, all the kids in that school had emotional problems. We were all going to shrinks. It's true, man. I mean, we all had, different psychologists, psychiatrists, and we all had our problems, and there was a little group of us that would get together after school and get a keg of beer, and it was great. It was camaraderie, and it was fun, and for a long time in my life, alcohol really worked. There weren't any drugs when I was in high school. There was a girl named Sylvia Walsh whose dad was a shrink, and Sylvia told me one day she had some marijuana joints buried under a fence post in Malibu. Did I want to try it? And we drove out to Malibu and on a Friday night, and we counted fence posts and lifted up one, and she had two little joints in a plastic bag, and she said, "Do you want to get high now?" I said, "No, I'll take mine home." And this is the truth, right? And I did take mine home, and it didn't do a whole lot for me, but I learned how to use substances later, and I can talk substance abuse with the best of you. I just don't choose to do it from a podium at Alcoholics Anonymous. I believe in the concept of singleness of purpose. I believe that the alcoholic coming in here who wants to get sober needs to identify with another alcoholic. And I have nothing against narcotics at all. You want to talk to me about it after the meeting? I'll give you a blow-by-blow description. And that's enough about that. So anyway, I drank and it worked and I had fun and got crazy and I was always kind of a clean-cut kid, and I was a student body president and student body treasurer. I robbed the school treasury. I got drunk. I stole a car. I went to Tijuana. They never found out that I was the guy who robbed the treasury. I had to go back to the school, to the dean of boys in sobriety, and make my amends to the school. Which, I was always the guy that, the people, when I get caught, inevitably I'd hear the same thing. Not you, Gary. You have so much on the ball. Why are you doing this to yourself? Why don't you straighten out? It seemed like it was a surprise to everybody that I was always screwing up, It wasn't a surprise to me. I didn't feel I could do anything else but screw up. It seemed like every single time I would get within reach of any kind of achievement or goal, I would do something to mess it up. And when I learned how to drink, it was all over for me because it was always the first drink that got me drunk, and my behavior was totally unpredictable once I picked up the first drink. I could coast through an evening and be charming and funny, or I could have 2 drinks and just be totally whacked out of my head. And I was the type of a guy, if I was sitting in a restaurant and I didn't like the way you looked, I'd get up and tell you. And I would, fling food across the room or say nasty stuff to your wife. It's amazing I didn't get killed. It really is. And I played a trumpet when I was a kid. I remember once I was sitting in the front seat with my trumpet, and a buddy of mine was sitting in the back seat, and he said something I didn't like, and I turned around and whacked him so hard with that trumpet, we had to take him to the emergency hospital, I mean, I could stand up here like any of us can and tell you great war stories about drinking and how much and what I drank, and that's not really what it's all about. It's what it did to me, and what I became because of alcohol. That's important, for me to remember, and it's important for me to continue to remember and identify with, because I got to a point in my life where I really could not walk past a mirror and look at myself, I had become I saw myself as real garbage. I felt like garbage on the inside. And no matter what I wore on the outside, or no matter how big my office was, or what I drove, or whatever my salary was, I always felt like garbage on the inside. And by the time I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I had pretty much tried everything to straighten my life out. I had tried doctors and I had tried a lot of therapy, and I didn't have the capacity to be honest at all, with anybody. So, let alone myself, and I wasn't, I didn't start out in this world that way, I wasn't trained to go through your medicine cabinet or your wallet in your house. I came from a good family, and I didn't know why I was doing these things, And the more I did, the more I had to drink, it seemed, Or the more successful I got, the more I had to drink. And the more I screwed up with the success, the more I had to drink. And it became a part of my life, and just a daily part of my life. And I needed the medicine. And it got to the point where I needed it on a continuous basis. I was not a periodic drinker, and I drank myself in and out of relationships, and I drank myself in and out of jobs, and I wound up working. I had a girlfriend whose dad had a little restaurant in Venice, and I drank myself out of my last successful job, and I went to work peeling potatoes in the kitchen of her restaurant, and I learned how to cook omelets and hamburgers, and I kind of liked it because I could drink all the wine I could get my hands on, and I was stealing money out of the cash register, and I worked from 7 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, then I go next door and blot out, the rest of this miserable day, and that was kind of my life, just coming 2 in the morning and just having those thoughts of, God, I just can't do this one more rotten day. Please, God, just let it be over now. Get me out of here, please. And that was my life. And a buddy of mine who I had drank with showed up one day, and he hadn't had a drink for about 9 months, and I knew something was different with him. I could see it, I could see it in his face, and I proceeded to tell him how great my life was. And at some point in the evening, I don't really remember this because I guess I blacked out, but I told him I couldn't go on like this, and he told me about Alcoholics Anonymous, and I made a commitment. It was on a Friday night, this I know. I made a commitment to go to an AA meeting that following Monday. Now, why I couldn't go Saturday or Sunday escapes me to this day. But I did make a commitment to go that Monday, and I kept my commitment, and I went to the meeting where I got sober. And I had gone a couple meetings a few years before that, and I got a big book and a copy of the 20 questions. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. I knew I was a heavy drinker, not an alcoholic. I threw the 20 questions away. I think I trashed the big book, and there I was 2 or 3 years later with another big book and another set of 20 questions, and ready and willing to do anything not to pick up another drink, and there were men at this meeting that gave me phone numbers and told me that I didn't have to pick up another drink again one day at a time if I did what they were doing and went where they were going, and if I was willing to go to any length in order not to drink. And I said, yeah. And they said, you make a commitment to Alcoholics Anonymous. You go to 90 meetings in 90 days. And I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. It was fanatical. And I was reminded that I drank every day, pretty much. And what's an hour out of my miserable existence not to drink one day at a time? And if at the end of 90 days, I didn't think this was working for me, they would gladly refund my misery. And I bought this, I really did. And the guy that 12-stepped me, my friend Owen, said, why don't you get a calendar and just mark it off, and keep a little diary of what meetings you went to and how you felt that day, I kept a diary my whole first year. And I look back, I read it every now and then. It's absolutely amazing because I can see in just those early scribblings that there was a change taking place in me from the very beginning. And I wasn't aware of any change, but when I read it now, I was talking about God in like my first week, you know? And I was not like a God guy, okay? I was a Gary guy. And God was not something that, you know, it was, you know, my experience with God was, I came from a Jewish family at the age of 21. I figured I'd be a good Catholic, so I converted to Catholicism for about a year. And that, you know, I was pretty good for a while, let me tell you. And, you know, and girls got in the way, and I said, you know, this is kind of ridiculous. And I kind of, you know, walked away from that. And, I mean, I had medals and crosses, and I come from a show business family. My parents were in the entertainment business, and I was too, and behind the scenes, and I had a Catholic godfather who was a very famous Lebanese comedian, right? And he used to give me all of these St. Jude's medals and St. Christopher's medals, and I'd go to church with he and his family every Sunday, and I was like, I see it now. I look back at this period, I was 21 years old. I look back at this period, and it's kind of funny, but in reality, I was searching for something to fill up this hole inside of me. And I saw, you know, stuff that was tangible. I saw a close-knit family. I saw people that had some kind of spiritual binding in their lives, you know, and I wanted that because I felt like I had nothing inside, you know, so it worked for me for a while, but it, you know, it didn't stop me from drinking. I mean, if Catholicism could stop you from drinking, there wouldn't be any drunk priests, you know. You know, I've met a lot of priests in AA, you know, so I mean, I have nothing against religion at all. I really don't. But I walked away from that and continued on down my path, and so you know, here I am going to these meetings and talking about God and saying the Lord's Prayer and going home after meetings and getting on my knees and thanking God for keeping me sober that day, you know, and meaning it. And I know it was working. It was not only working in me, but there are all these little folks walking around like us today with these little styrofoam cups and keep coming back. And it, you know, it really works. It really does. And I'm loving AA, man. I'm just, you know, I was on fire with AA. We were going to meetings, you know, sometimes 2 meetings, sometimes 3 meetings a day. There was a bunch of us, you know, that hung out together, a bunch of guys, and doggone, we were going to meetings all over Los Angeles, you know, we didn't care. And I got a home group, you know, and a home group, you know, we all know what a home group is. I mean, it's just a meeting where I felt comfortable, and I've been going there, you know, every Wednesday night, you know, pretty much for my whole sobriety. And I'm checking off days in my little calendar, and I'm writing down, you know, stuff about sobriety, and I, you know, I'm in the kitchen cooking, and the burns on my hands are healing, and my lips aren't purple from the burgundy wine I'm drinking, you know, every day, and you know, and I'm starting to feel like I got a chance, you know. I'm really starting to feel like there's some hope that maybe this is really going to work for me. And man, I wanted to go out and just tell everybody that I knew that drank at all that they got to join AA. And you know, I did. I told people that did not need AA that they should join AA, you know, and I had some people in my life that immediately left my life. I had some friends that the minute I told them I was sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, they were like, phew, you know, vapors, man. They just gone. I mean, serious. And I met new friends. And I met new friends in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I still have some old friends, you know, some people that aren't in the program. Some of them are, but some people that have stuck by me, you know, throughout the years. But even my oldest of friends cannot understand what any of you can understand here tonight. And I know a lot of people here, and even those of you that don't know me, you know what I'm talking about up here. You know how I felt, and I know that you know. And it doesn't make any difference that we may have drank differently or come from different backgrounds, you know. I know that this disease, there's a thread that runs through every alcoholic, and the beauty of this program is always been for me is one alcoholic talking to another alcoholic. You know, it has always amazed me that this drunk doctor and this stockbroker got together, you know, and whether it was divinely introduced or not, it doesn't make any difference what you think. Here are these two guys that were could not stay sober on their own, that meet, you know, and can relate to each other, and start the ball rolling with this fellowship. And I know my sobriety and it goes all the way back to that first meeting, you know. I've had a lot of great stuff happen to me in my sobriety. I got a sponsor. I started to learn a little bit about the language of AA. I didn't know, you know, terms like drunkalogue and steps and, you know, spiritual experience. I mean, spiritual experience to me was, you know, you take some LSD and a quart of Jack Daniels, you go out to the desert, you know, and you know, you talk to the cactus, you know, and you know, you get some kind of concept that God is really out there, and then you come back and, you know, you sleep it off. But you know, I get this sponsor and I start to go through the steps, and it was explained to me real early on that there is a distinct difference between what I know as the fellowship and what I know as the program. That the fellowship is not going to keep me sober or comfortable. That just talking one-to-one is eventually not going to work as far as my being comfortable. That I'm going to have to start working the program, and the program lies in these 12 steps. And I was real fortunate that I had people in my life that were willing to just give me the facts, you know. And I was one of those guys that if I didn't start doing it all right away, I was not going to stay here. So I decided to just give it my best shot, you know, and do the best I could. And I've had a number of different sponsors in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've had sponsors that have died sober. I had 3 sponsors in my sobriety that all died sober. I had a woman sponsor for a while. She was a lovely lady. She was a member of the Pacific group, and don't go talking to me about the Pacific group or making fun of the Pacific group, you know, because I was not a member of the Pacific group, but I really owe a lot of my early training to a Pacific group member and a woman. And For a while in my sobriety, I had this, I started talking about, men sponsor men, women sponsor women. And I'm going, wait a minute, I had a woman sponsor. What am I talking about, this lady was really a very regimented woman who really pulled my covers. And she said, you can really talk this spirituality, kid, but you better really shape up or you're going to get drunk. And she spotted it. I got to be such a God man that, I could talk the game really good. I wanted you to love me so much. I wanted to be so accepted in AA that I would say pretty much anything, to gain your acceptance. Hey, I've been doing this my whole life, I'd say whatever you wanted to hear my whole life. And Lily spotted this, and she just laid it down, I called her up one day and I was moaning about my job at the time, and she said, look, you get up tomorrow before you go to work and you make out a gratitude list and call me up and you read me 10 reasons why you're grateful for your life. And I did that, and I did it, and I did it, and every single morning, right? I'm writing down, you run out of things, and I'm repeating stuff. And one day I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just not. This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm a grown man. And I called up Lily, and she said, okay, read it to me, kid. And I said, I don't have it. And she said, you don't, huh? And I said, no. And you know something? I'm tired of getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to read you this damn list. She said, did it ever occur to you, you self-centered little bastard, that I'm getting up at the same time to hear this crap? She was such a great lady, and I got up to leave a meeting early one night, and she said, never, ever leave a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous early. And I went, why? And she said, well, I'll leave that up to your infinite wisdom to figure out. She said, think about it tonight and call me tomorrow. So I called. I couldn't, it beat me. If you don't like the speaker, why stick around, So I called Lily up the next morning and I said, please, I don't know, what's the reason that I can't leave a meeting early? She said, you may miss the one thing you need to hear that night. Oh, God. It was such simple wisdom, It was just simple wisdom. And, but it all went over my head, So much of it did, But I believe today, if you keep coming back, eventually, when you're ready to hear, you hear. And when you're ready to see, you see. But, for me, it's the only consistent thing I have ever done in my lifetime is Alcoholics Anonymous, I've had the same job now this is going to be my 9th year. I want to leave bad, right? And my wife says, I hate. I'm back. I work for an entertainer, and I just, some days it's like really tough. And Lorraine said, you have like a dream job. And I go, yeah, but God, it's just, I don't make enough money. And she said, how about the car you're driving that he bought you? Oh. How about the sound system? How about, you have a really great, oh yeah, but I guess there's no difference between my thinking today and calling up Lily Stanwyck and bitching about being a cook, is there? Right? Okay. See, it's an inside job. It's, God, okay. So you get a sponsor, you work the steps, you get spiritual, you get some commitments, You sponsor some guys, and you're not going to be, you know, a circuit speaker, and you're not going to, you know, I don't even want to be Clancy anymore, you know. I'm just a drunk, you know. I mean, basically, what it all comes down to, you know, is I'm just your run-of-the-mill alcoholic, you know, trying to do the best that he can, you know. I'm still doing the same stuff that I was taught to do in my first 30 days of sobriety. You know, it hasn't changed a whole lot, you know. My sponsor, Fred Ellis, and I know Fred Ellis coined this phrase, although I hear it all the time. He used to say, you suit up and you show up no matter what. And I've heard it said a lot of different ways, you know. Fred and I were running a marathon once, you know, and we were in San Francisco. We were running through Chinatown, and his cancer was in remission at that time, and he looked at me and he said, Gary, you're never going to get any closer to God than you are right now. And I looked at him, and for that 1 minute, you know, I knew exactly what he was talking about. I knew exactly what he was talking about. I'm not going to get any closer to God than I am right here and right now. Because at the end of the day, you know, it's between me and my God at the end of the day. It's not between me and my employer and me and you. It's between me and God. And I've been given a way of life that works for somebody like myself that suffers from the disease of alcoholism. I have this disease, you know. I have wonderful friends that have guided me and supported me and pulled me through. My friend Sydney is like a sister to me, pulled me through some stuff last year that was horrendous, you know. My wife, we're going to be married 5 years, all of the stuff, all of my real dreams have come true in Alcoholics Anonymous, you know. I had some pretty wild stuff that I used to just figure, you know, it's not ever going to happen to me, for me. It's just not going to happen. I just, you know, there's no way, you know. It continues happening, you know. The book, somewhere in the book it says the age of miracles is still with us. Our own recovery proves that, you know. And I'm not a big book quoter, but that thing jumped out at me because I was always looking for the miracle, you know. I mean, I was looking for the healing, you know? And I come to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I stand up here to tell you my little tale, and I'm looking out at people who all drank and understand what I'm talking about. And I can come up here and tell you, you know, what was going through my head today, you know. I don't speak for Alcoholics Anonymous, you know. I really don't. I may not always be right, but I always have an opinion. But, you know, I keep coming back. You know, this is, for me, the way I choose to lead my life today, you know. I fall short each day, you know, of the ideal. I really do. But, you know, I keep suiting up and showing up. I don't pick up the first drink no matter what. I got to hear that. I got to hear that tonight, you know. How do you stay sober tonight? Well, you don't pick up the first drink no matter what. No matter what. It's the first drink that always got me drunk. So, you know, I make it to midnight tonight. I got another notch in the belt of sobriety, you know. And the rest of this life is up and down, you know. It's life on life's terms. And, you know, together we can get through anything, you know. The group is very important, you know. The steps are to the group what they are to the individual, believe me, as well as the principles. This is not something where, you know, where I can walk alone. But thank God I don't have to walk alone. You know, I never have to walk alone again. And I never have to drink again. And I want to thank you all for not for being here tonight, because you're here to save your own butts. Let me tell you, you know, you are the most important people in this room tonight, as well as I. You know, I want to welcome you again, whether you're coming back or whether you're here for the first time. It's not even important. We don't drink today. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control is connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.